It's really great to be here with you all today, celebrating really 40 years of this organization's existence.
Happy anniversary, TAADAS!
Okay, I'm David Brown. They call me Boomer, and I've been around since about 96 when the Halfway House Association started?
I think so.
And at that time, I'd never even heard of it. I don't know even what TAADAS was called at that time. What was it called?
I'm not sure. TAADA.
TAADA? Is that TAADA back then?
It's been known by several names over the decades, but the basic tenets have remained the same: alcohol, drugs, and addiction. TAADAS, as we call it today, was originally known as the Tennessee Association of Alcohol and Drug Councils in 1974. By the time the association formally developed its charter in 1976, the name was changed to the Tennessee Alcohol and Drug Association, or TAADA.
Oh my gosh. Marjorie Wheatley, God, Ed Hale, Ronald Stone, good. Craig Gill Anthony, my goodness, 1976.
Early leaders of the efforts were Bob Aspel, Marjorie Wheatley, Ron Stone, Dick Bowen, Esther Zimmer, and Ed Hale. Others involved in the early days were Gil Anthony and later Ewell Mahoney, Reeve McDavid, John Malloy, and Henry Ash. Members from the councils met quarterly and rotated meeting locations throughout the state. The goals were to work in close cooperation with agencies interested in alcohol and drug problems, and to propose and support legislation regarding alcoholism and drug dependency.
Kind of like AA, we shared experience, strength, and hope. You know, just for instance, I went all the way to Johnson City one time to observe their DUI school because I thought they were doing it better than we were. That sort of sharing and commiserating and then working together to try to get legislation passed that would benefit the cause. You know, treatment is a wonderful, rewarding thing, but prevention is also essential. Of course, the clearinghouse was helpful in providing information for that. You know, our JACOA early on, and I'm sure most of the other councils did it. We had a DUI school, that is, you know, people that were offenders of driving while under the influence.
It was obvious from the beginning, from my standpoint, that participation in TAADAS was very important. I couldn't believe that maybe there were some places that didn't participate, but and I was glad that the board of JACOA was very supportive towards our involvement with TAADAS, and it obviously is something that, for a variety of reasons, from sharing of information to figuring out what we would do for grants and improve our product, our service delivery. All of those things were very important.
A grant for the clearinghouse was awarded around 1980. It operated out of the Mid-Cumberland Council in Nashville, and some years later, Bob Curry was hired as the first executive director.
And then I was wanting things to get done, and there was nobody to call. There was just nobody there. And so the whole idea of, you know, when I left the department and ended up coming with TAADAS, it was like, that's what I need. This is what we need to do. We need to have a voice of alcohol and drug services to talk about why mental health does not represent alcohol and drugs. You know, You can't speak, sometimes you say mental health it includes alcohol and drugs, and then when you start talking, it sure doesn't sound like you are. So having that voice of being able to be an equal partner at the table, I think, both on the executive side, talking to policymakers in state government, and then also on the legislative side, raising the issues and having our advocacy for at least responding to laws that were being proposed that were really detrimental, and being able to say, no, this really doesn't make sense in terms of, or you're forgetting the fact that recovery happens, or that people they don't need to all go to jail. There's alternatives that are useful and helpful, and that there's agencies out here who can do that.
Prior to that, it was just a group of us and no real impact on a lot of things because we didn't have that singular voice. So I think you're right. When you came along, you understood enough to know how to start going about it anyway. Mm-hmm. And prior to that, it'd been discussions and issues, but no real way to direct that to the state or anybody else for that matter. Mm-hmm. So that was really the beginning of, I think, getting things started to where they've developed now.
TAADAS began to gain momentum and status. Professionals in the field began viewing TAADAS as a resource and a leader in the prevention, treatment, and recovery of alcohol and drugs. They continue to develop much-needed resources and activities to improve service delivery throughout the state.
That's easy for me. I use the training sessions excessively. We have so many golden opportunities that TAADAS presents to us with some of the highest names and most important individuals in our profession that we'd never have access to that do trainings. And I use that all the time, just all the time.
We use a lot of the free literature that TAADAS offers. We like to provide that to those that come in our agency. We like to keep that. We have a stock room that we keep those things full, and so we can keep all that on hand, not only for the clients that we have there, but for their families and for people that call in that need that reference material.
Yeah, I mean, it's a chance for us to speak back to the state. I really like that when Rod comes, when the commissioner comes. If there's issues, there's opportunity to kind of air it out there, and everybody gets a chance to, kind of say their 2 cents worth. I think that's valuable because I think that has kind of made some changes, and maybe not so much policy, but just admit how things get done, and maybe kind of greases the skids a little bit. And then the training too, that's really important for us and for our staff to kind of stay up on what's the latest. And it's nice too to be able to pick up the phone sometimes and call Mary Linden or the staff here and say, I'm having trouble with this resource or that resource, and they can direct me places like, oh, well, you need to talk to so-and-so, because they kind of know who to talk to.
As a fairly new director, in my role, it's TAADAS coming to the executive committee meetings and the organizational meetings has really provided me an avenue to develop a relationship with the colleagues that I have. So if I run into an issue or into a question as to how we can do something better or do something different or add a component to our program that we might not currently have, it's great to know that I can come up here to Nashville once or twice a month and be able to talk to other directors that have been in the field way longer than I have, and to have that knowledge and that are seasoned, and be able to say, hey, how would you approach this?
Frankly, I don't know what would have happened to organizations, your individual member organizations or people with addiction in our state if this organization had not existed. But without organizations that are really truly committed to the mission that you all are committed to, I think the landscape in Tennessee, the quality of life, and particularly families and individuals struggling with addiction issues would be really bad.
Although their beginnings were small, they soon blossomed into the organization that they are today. They forged ahead with a bold new vision for the future of substance abuse that transcended their traditional partnerships.
Hey Patrick, tell me what made you come into TAADAS?
The information sharing is what started, and then once I got to know everyone, I found out that hey, we're all doing the same thing. You know, it made a big change in the way perspective I had. Because back then, it was all these what we called silos up, where none of us, we were all afraid the other ones would get the other's money all the time. And we didn't really talk to each other because we thought the other one was against each other. You know?
And for Health Connect, it works for us because of the information and the training, because for our licensed clinicians, it's easy because it's always that difficulty balancing education and, you know, pursuing that career.
Recovery courts, we have a lot of the same agenda or issues because we are so closely attached to our providers, and we get a lot of information at the meetings. I mean, I'm constantly, as a statewide, you know, I'm in Nashville, but we're a statewide organization. When I go to a TAADAS meeting, I'm running into, I mean, I can look around the room and I can see how many people are in the room attached to a recovery court that we support. And so as a statewide organization, we get a chance to build relationships with the teams and with the providers of the recovery courts.
As we continue to evolve as an association, that continued growth to diversify, to bring those other missing pieces to the table, because otherwise those with addiction, they're not going to be able to turn their lives around.
And TAADAS has done a great job over almost 4 decades now of getting that message out, supporting its member organizations.
I really see collaboration and you know, new mechanisms of community-based development really being the core of that. And I'm really pleased that we were able to kind of see that coming and to develop our TAADAS membership and our diversity, as you put it, in a way that really supports that. I think we're ready for those next steps.
I think doing those collaborations and expanding our diversity has helped us recently to reach outside of even just this specific field and join with other agencies like around the Pregnant Women's Law.
Yeah.
We've been able to join with other organizations that are working for women, just like we are, and men. And I don't think that we can do. You have to have some kind of foundation before you can reach out beyond where you have been. And so I think that we've done a lot of work to set some of that structure into place, and so we're ready to reach out and work with other groups.
It feels really good to see somebody make it.
We were sitting around earlier talking about, you know, why are we still doing this? Well, we do it because, you know, we've never made huge amounts of money, and we're committed to doing it because of what we believe about giving people, meeting their needs, and I guess it's just us. It's in our fabric.
TAADAS has played a key role in shaping the way we approach addiction in Tennessee. Its influence has been felt throughout the state, from rural communities to sleepy bedroom suburbs to our urban city centers. 40 years is a long time to devote energy, passion, and dedication for a cause. But the story is not yet over. In fact, we eagerly await the next 40 years of service.